Hey everyone, it's Rich Monroe here with BNB Investing Group. Thanks for jumping on this week. For those of you that are coming on for the first time, BNB Investing Group is a mastermind that helps investors navigate the world of short-term rentals. And we look at different options, whether you're trying to do master lease strategy, acquire properties, or actually manage properties for other investors. And so we kind of navigate through those three different options. And we also like looking at alternative solutions in the marketplace besides our regular platforms. And today I'm happy to say we've got Shani from PadSplit with us. That's going to walk us through the PadSplit platform and how that option works. As a real estate investor, it's always good to have multiple exit strategies. And so when you have a property and different things are occurring, it's always good to know and be aware of what those options are. And so for those of you that are just jumping on, if you could just throw a quick yes in the comments, just so that let us know that you can hear us okay. And then we'll jump right into it. Shani, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Rich. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Just starting with PadSplit, I've been with the company going on 2 years now this month, but not new to real estate. I've been a licensed realtor for over 15 years. I've been in the prop tech and fintech space for the last 10. Previously, before PadSplit, I was with CoStar Group, which is the parent company of apartments.com, as well as several others under that umbrella. But have a background in finance, degree in urban planning and economic development, a wholesaling business. So I've been in a lot of different interesting kind of lanes with real estate, including commercial real estate. So what really drove me here to PadSplit, though, is the mission of the organization, which is to help solve the affordable housing crisis. And that is really my North Star, and it gets me excited every day to know that we're helping solving that issue and finding a way to make it profitable for investors. So I'm super excited to be here and share not only my story, but also PadSplit story with everyone.
No, that's awesome. And it's in every major city across the country has, the affordable housing crisis issue. And with rents continuing to increase, it's a continuing ongoing problem that's it seems to be getting worse. And so that's very, for what you guys provide there as an option, most folks wouldn't have any other alternatives when they're kind of in that situation. Can you describe for us kind of what the average potential or different options or when those situations arise for those folks that need transitional housing and kind of the average time that they need that for?
Well, I would say our demographics that we focus on is mostly workforce housing, right? So think of those individuals that have full-time jobs, employed, but unfortunately do not earn enough income to qualify for traditional rentals, nor do they have the credit score. So what we do is we offer a flexible, affordable option for those individuals. To your point, you can turn on the news any day of the week or the radio and hear about this crisis of affordable housing with rents increasing. So I would say on our platform, though, thinking about workforce housing and those that we serve, over 15,000 on our platform, the average stay is about 10 months. The minimum stay is 31 days.
Got it. So I know you have a presentation that you can walk us through to kind of give us a kind of an overview and a summary of the program. And we are going to have some time towards the end as well, guys. If you have any questions as Shani is going through the presentation, feel free to throw those in the comments, and we'll definitely try to get to some of those towards the end. So Shani, let's go ahead and dig in.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rich. Okay, well, let's get started. PadSplit, our motto is to do well and do good. Well, what does that mean? Doing well financially through our co-living platform and business model. Our investors are able to double, sometimes triple the income on their property compared to a traditional rental. A lot of our host investors are new investors of being able to build a portfolio that creates generational wealth. And then doing good is doing good in the neighborhood, right? Doing good for the community, for those individuals who otherwise would be couch surfing, staying in extended stay hotels, and really just don't have any other option because of the rental rates increasing so significantly. So we are the nation's largest co-living marketplace designed specifically for workforce housing. Very similar to Airbnb, we have a platform where on one side we have real estate investors with rental properties, and on the other side, those community members who are looking for fully furnished, affordable rooms that include the cost of utilities, access to Wi-Fi, access to a washer and dryer, and typically near public transportation. So again, through this model, we make it possible for investors to make a profit even in uncertain market conditions such as the ones that we're currently in now. So just a little bit about us. We are a startup company, Series B, founded in 2018, headquartered here in Atlanta, Georgia, which is also where I'm located. We've serviced over 15,000 members and residents on our platform. We actually are closer to about 7,200 units now across all of these markets that you see here on the map, and over 130 employees. So we are really on an aggressive mission to grow our existing markets, but again, addressing the need of affordable housing really all across the country. So 130 mission-driven superstars from top companies and universities all around the world. Again, we are a technology platform, so a global community, global workforce. And just a little bit about our Series B, we raised 20.5 million in our last Series B funding round, which included investments from Mark Cuban, Cox Enterprises, Impact Engine, and several others. So some of the issues that we're addressing, again, workforce housing problem, really thinking about the number of individuals who are unable to afford housing because of the increase in rents and just all of the blockers that traditional rentals provide. Right. So you think about the population that we're serving. There's about 14 million individuals that are making less than $35,000 a year, which is a huge part of the population. The median studio right now is $1,300. The average one bedroom here in Atlanta is $1,800 a month. So in order to qualify for that, someone would have to make north of $65,000 a year. Just to qualify for the rent, right? And then that doesn't include, of course, any utilities, furnishings, those other costs that you have to take into consideration. So again, traditional rents not designed for today's workforce because of those increasing rent costs. Think about the lease terms and payments, 6 months to 12 months is usually what those terms are. 650 credit score, and of course, there are no guarantees. So again, just a huge portion of the population that does not have access to traditional housing. But there's an opportunity in that. So you think about the mismatch between supply and demand. We have about a shortage of 7.5 million affordable units across the country. And it's not being addressed, right? We know that there are government programs in place, but those problems are growing. If you look at the wait list for affordable housing vouchers here in Atlanta, that wait list is about 10 years, just to give you an idea on how long it takes for someone to actually access affordable housing through a government voucher. So we're able to really capture this opportunity and provide affordable housing with existing inventory that most people are sitting in homes that have empty rooms or homes that have just been vacant. So there's a lot of supply that's already out there, and we're able to capitalize on this opportunity with our model. And on the other side of our marketplace, we have the real estate investing problem. And I don't have to go through details on this, but high interest rates, low inventory, compressed yields, underwater flips. And then, of course, there are a lot of rules and regs coming out and policy that are really tightening around short-term rentals. And that's where PadSplit comes in. So again, our model really allows investors to capitalize underutilized space in a floor plan. So we can see here in this example, we will consult our investors with converting the floor plan, right? So either one of the account executives will make recommendations or have a general contractor, someone in our vendor network to come out and walk the property, provide a scope of work, and show you how to maximize the property. In this example on the left, we see we have a 4-bedroom property that's one stream of income renting out to a traditional single-family home as a traditional single-family home for $2,000 a month. And then we were able to convert the living room as well as the formal dining room and add 2 additional bedrooms. And now we have 6 streams of income in renting out those spaces individually, $4,500 a month in gross income.
And so just real quick, Shani, just so that folks understand. So when I rent a room through PadSplit, the understanding is that I've kind of got a shared common area kitchen typically and a shared common area bathroom.
That's right. Usually there is not a living room in a PadSplit property. Just as a rule of thumb, we try to eliminate any place in the home where someone can sleep that's not a bed. And that decreases the opportunity for conflict. You don't have people congregating. Someone's not going to walk in and find, one of their pad mates, girlfriends or boyfriends sleeping on the couch, for example. So most of the PadSplit properties on our platform do not have a living room. However, we're seeing a bit of a change in our supply and our inventory. We are getting a lot of hosts come over from Airbnb who have already, configured their homes. They already have the furniture there, and they're deciding to keep the living room in those homes. But they're also renting at a much higher rate than some of the other properties on our platform. So it balances out. But yes, on average, there's not a living room. The common spaces, kitchen and shared bathrooms. And then thinking about the number of rooms that are in a property, usually around 7.
Got it. Just real quick, everybody, just make sure that you can hear us okay. Please send me a yes in the comments real quick if you don't mind. And those of you that have jumped on since we've started, feel free to throw any questions in the comment section and we'll kind of handle those towards the end of the presentation. Thanks. Go ahead, Shani.
Awesome. All right. So what is the perfect floor plan? I get this question quite a bit. To your point, Rich, thinking about the common areas, it's hard to conceptualize, right? If you get told for the first time that 7 people are going to be staying in a traditional single-family home, it can be a little mind-blowing when you see it, but it works, right? And where it works at, between 6 and 8 rooms. So there are some challenges and benefits that come with the number of rooms that you have, including your return, your cash out of pocket, neighborhood complaints, right? We tend to go into areas where they're not located in HOAs, but also, consulting you to make sure that there's adequate parking on site, adequate parking on the street, or near public transportation. Obviously, the size of the renovation, how much capital will be needed in order to get the project done, the length of time, and then just inventory supply. So we take all of those things into consideration as we're consulting our hosts on any property that they currently have or a property that they're looking to acquire.
Is there a preference between ranch style homes to multi-level homes or not really?
No, not really. Every floor plan is unique. I would say for multi-level, if you're going to do the basement, you just have to take in consideration there needs to be 2 modes of egress. which is typically a window and a door. So as long as it meets those requirements, 80 square feet, 2 modes of egress, HUD standards, then it's totally fine.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. So what are we responsible for? PadSplit manages all of the marketing, so paid marketing in our core markets, which includes paid Facebook ads, paid Google ads, bigger pockets ads. So we manage all of the marketing and making sure that your rooms are filled. We also manage the member screening. We do the background checks, income verification, and employment verification. So when someone is applying for a room in your home, the application comes directly to us for the screening. We also do all of the member management. So we have a 24/7 member support team to answer any questions, queries, customer service, inquiries or complaints. And that 24/7 support team also provides additional resources for our members and residents, which include free telemedicine services, credit boost services, as well as employment services. We also manage all collections. For those of you who are familiar with us or have had a chance to go on the website, you've probably seen weekly rental rates. We allow our members to pay either on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, whatever aligns with their pay schedule. And because of that, we have collection rates over 97%. So we manage those collections, and then we send those collections as payments out to our investors and hosts. And then, of course, just the onboarding consultation from beginning to end. So if you're interested, have a property, you'd reach out to Rich and he'd send your information to me. And we would walk through a consultation process for a property that you currently have or one that you're looking to acquire and assist you through that entire journey. Not only do you have the resources of the account executives on the team, but you also have, again, our vendor network, which includes licensed, bonded, and insured individuals, everything from real estate agents to general contractors, photographers, lenders, property managers, every resource that you would need from acquisition to managing a stabilized property.
All right, cool. So I put my link in the comment section that you guys, if anyone has any properties that you want to look at and get an analysis, it'll come directly to Shani and she can help you kind of walk through what those options look like. So I have a quick question on the payment collection, right? So a lot of us, including myself, don't like or no longer do long-term rentals just because of the headaches of collecting rent and having to evict people. One of the huge benefits, obviously, of short-term rentals is we collect that money in most cases prior to the guest even checking in. And so how does the payment work in terms of, for your process, in terms of the timing of the collection of the rent that comes in?
Well, typically when someone is applying for a room, they pay a $26 application fee. And then they pay a move-in fee, which is set by you. So that is on the listing when they set to apply, you will see a move-in fee, and that can range anywhere from $75 to $150. And that covers your turn cost. So when that member vacates the room, typically our investors have a cleaning service that comes in, does a light swiffer on the floor, changes the mattress cover, and within 24 to 48 hours, it's back online. The other thing that they'll have to pay is 2 weeks worth of rent up front. And then they also have to pay just a PadSplit fee. And so all of that is collected before they receive move-in instructions to your property.
All right. So we're collecting 2 weeks up front. And then once they're there, let's say they're there for 10 weeks. What's the timing of the collection of the remaining 8 weeks as they're there?
So there's flexibility on both sides for managing the collections and sending those payments, but it would be they can choose to pay on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And then you choose as the investor on what day you want to be paid on a monthly basis.
Okay. And then have you had, or, what's the default rate for people that don't pay and kind of what happens in those situations?
I can tell you out of the 15,000 residents that we've served on our platform, less than 3% have gone through the eviction process. Typically, what happens if someone is behind on a payment? One, you would receive a notification on your dashboard. Two, once their balance goes beyond $300, that's when PadSplit's team contacts that member. We'll have a conversation with them, and as a rule of thumb, we want to work with them as much as they want to work with us. The last thing that we want to do is displace someone who's already having difficulty finding housing, which is why we offer the free telemedicine services if someone's experiencing an illness, employment services if someone's between jobs, and then credit boost services, as well as microloans through that partnership for credit services with Isuzu. So we will work with them to try to make payment arrangements. However, if we're unable to do so, at that point, we will contact you as the host or your property manager if you have one, and recommend that someone goes to the home and has what we call an easy way, hard way conversation. The easy way is, hey, Mr. Resident, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to allow you to stay in the room until you get your balance down to zero. But you can leave now and come back on the platform within 6 months once you've paid off that balance. And most people do that. If they decide not to do that, then that's when we have to go through the eviction route. And we have a partner that we work with called Evict Them For Me, who assists all of our hosts through the eviction process. And on average, it costs around $200.
All right. And just so that we're clear, there's a landlord-tenant relationship here. Unlike what we do with short-term rentals, it's more of a host and a guest, where if they break our house rules, there'd be trespassing and we can basically have them removed. But in this case, it's still a landlord-tenant relationship. Is that correct?
Actually, it's a corporate lease agreement between PadSplit LLC and Rich LLC. Okay, and then the members are added to the LLC as actual members, and they abide by membership rules. So they're PadSplit members and have to abide by PadSplit membership rules. So it's structured as a corporate lease agreement, essentially.
Which means I don't have to go through the traditional eviction process that a regular landlord would have to do.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. I'll let you continue. One more question on the onboarding. So when you do the consultation on onboarding and you recommend which rooms to basically add on, I know in some cases you might take a living room, put a wall up in the middle of the living room to make 2 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Is the cost of those renovations on the owner or on PadSplit?
It's on the owner. Mm-hmm. We do have lenders that will work with our investors for financing those deals, but those costs are on the host.
All right. And then the same question on the furnishing.
Same.
Okay. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was
it. Are the marketplace that is connecting you as a host to those members that are looking to rent your rooms.
Not much different than what Airbnb and Booking.com and Expedia do for us in the short-term rental space.
Yeah, I mean, I would say aside from, not only marketing, right, but managing the collections, member management, it's very similar. Yes.
Right. Okay.
All right. So I do get this question quite a bit as far as the demographics and the people that we serve. And I touched base on it a little bit earlier. Those individuals, again, full-time employees, but not earning enough to qualify for an $1,800 one-bedroom property or apartment, rather. So these are just some of the employers where our members work at. So our model allows you to provide housing to essential workers in your community. So again, PadSplit really allows you to increase your revenues, which we discussed, by converting into a co-living model, capture the opportunity, 14 million people who are earning less than $35,000 a year, right? So huge opportunity. And then continuing to invest in today's market, even with all of the changes, the increase in interest rates, compress yields, some of the things that we already discussed. So that's how our investors are able to both do well and do good.
Awesome.
So I just want to share briefly a quick testimonial, if I may, before we jump into the product and answer questions. Is that okay, Rich?
Absolutely.
Okay. I love sharing this story with Heather. Heather is actually one of our first investors when we originally started. She was new to real estate, had just purchased her first investment property. It was torn between going between Airbnb or PadSplit, but has a relationship with our CEO and decided to give PadSplit a try. So her first property came online, and her goal then was to earn enough income to replace her job. And she did that, and with her third property, and then decided to keep going with the second goal being to replace her husband's income. And they were able to do that with their seventh property. And then lastly, their goal was to retire early and move to Spain. And they were able to do that with their 10th property, actually last month. So they're already in Spain. But essentially, Heather and her husband were new investors and decided to build a PadSplit portfolio of 10 properties. And you can see here, out of the 10 properties, they have 60 active rooms, 59 are occupied, 91% occupancy rate. So far for the year, they've earned $255,000. And just looking at their income for the month of June, $44,000. And they were able to do that in 5 years. So
Nice.
it's exciting to share that story, I think, because a lot of people are new to real estate and not really sure what direction to go. But again, being able to double, triple income on investment properties while also providing, 59 people affordable places to live is a great story to tell.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, is that the gross or the net after expenses?
So this is gross. This is top line revenue. It
Okay.
doesn't include any mortgages or debt payments that she has, but it does include the PadSplit fee being taken out.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Well, that's all I had for my presentation. Rich, do you want to go over questions now, or should we spend some time in the product?
Let's cover a couple questions, and then I think we can dive into the product. And I know we have a few examples. I have some investors right now actually that are contemplating whether to do short-term rentals or do PadSplit, and so we'll look at that example. And then I've got a property that actually might be putting under contract that might have good potential as well. And so, being involved, and you touched on this earlier in your presentation. In the short-term rental world. We're constantly battling with the different ordinances that are cropping up in cities and counties that in some cases are prohibitive in certain markets. I know that, PadSplit has had its own challenges as well, but can you touch on kind of what the code enforcement rules look like and what the potential issues could be from a regulatory standpoint with PadSplit?
Sure. I would say from a regulatory standpoint, how we mitigate some of those risks really is one, consulting on the front end. When we're talking to our hosts, we always advise them to understand the neighborhood that they're going into. Whether that's knocking on doors, talking to neighbors, finding an advocate, providing your contact information. So if and when there is an issue at the home, they're contacting you instead of code enforcement. Because as you all probably know, those issues come from the neighbors, right? Code enforcement isn't driving through neighborhood looking for violations. If you don't mow your lawn, then somebody may complain. So being a really good operator, being a good neighbor, making sure that the property is kept up well and that you have an advocate in the community is extremely important. To your point, as far as rules and regs, for the city of Atlanta, for example, the maximum amount of unrelated individuals that can live in a home is 4, unless they're servants. You can have unlimited servants in your home, which tells you how dated these rules are, right? You think about just policy in general, it's certainly reactive instead of proactive, but how we're able to navigate some of those issues is through that corporate lease agreement structure, because the members aren't considered tenants, they're considered members of PadSplit. However, we have had hosts who've received violations from code enforcement because maybe a car is broken down in the front yard, or, again, going back to the lawn not being mowed or trash not being properly kept up. So the other thing that a lot of our hosts will do is have someone in the home and provide concessions to that individual if they mow the lawn or manage some of those repairs. So those are just some of the things that we do to mitigate some of those risks.
Has that membership structure been challenged in any of the jurisdictions?
It has, but we have an in-house legal team that goes head to head with any challenge, and we typically win unless there's some extreme extenuating circumstances.
Okay, cool. All right, let me jump to one of the questions that one of our members had. Christine was asking, have you heard of the company in Columbia, South Carolina, 311 Living Solutions? They are doing a similar thing in that area. Or are you aware of them at all?
I actually have not heard of them. So no, they haven't come on my radar, but Columbia, South Carolina isn't a market that we're in right now. It's not one of our core markets. However, we may have some properties that are on our platform in that market. We have a program called PadSplit Anywhere, which allows hosts to list their property on our platform regardless of where they are in the country. And the only difference between that program and our core program is paid marketing. Other than that, we do everything else.
Okay. All right. Well, let's walk through an example then. Did you want to present something, or are we going to kind of talk through it?
I can present, actually. That would be fine.
All right. While we're switching that over, have you seen security issues among the residents? So has there been, are there issues that crop up? I know that you talked about the fact that you kind of on purpose don't do living room areas and common areas so that you can mitigate some of that risk of folks getting into conflicts, but I'm sure you're still probably seeing some of that, right?
Yeah, I can think of an incident that happened most recently where the host was actually going to the home to add an additional bedroom and deliver a bed. And there was a resident that was moving in, and he had a chance to speak to the gentleman. And the gentleman had the room booked through and by his girlfriend. So she booked everything, and then he was moving in, which obviously is a violation of the rules. All of our members have to be screened, that background check, income verification, employment verification. So he was able to catch that, but if he wasn't there and for whatever reason that person was able to get into the property, the other pad mates would have been able to report as well, because they receive notifications on who their new pad mates are going to be. There are some people that try to bend the rules, right? That's just the nature of the business, unfortunately. So that certainly posed a security issue, having someone that hadn't passed a background check live in a home where everyone else has.
Now, when something like that happens, is that the owner's responsibility or PadSplit's responsibility to resolve it?
It's usually on the host side. So the property manager will, make sure that person is removed from the home. But we will also, like in that scenario specifically, we contacted the applicant and the member who had applied for the room for her boyfriend, and obviously let her know that was violating the rules, which again, she had to sign a membership agreement, which outlined all of the rules. So she knew she was in violation, and he had to leave. So we do our part, but really it's a collaborative effort with PadSplit and the host.
Right. So just again to clarify, so if I'm an owner and I'm going to onboard and kind of get started, I guess it's an option for me as the owner to either self-manage, or I can engage with a property manager like we traditionally would for property management for most of the time long-term rental, but also we have property managers in short-term rental space as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the for this particular offering? What is the typical charge of that property manager that would manage a PadSplit?
Well, before I answer that, let me tell you what the fee for PadSplit would be, right? So again, PadSplit's responsible for marketing, filling those rooms, all of the screening, all of the member management, collection and payments, and member services. And for that, we charge a 14.75% fee. Okay. Breakdown on that, 12% goes directly to PadSplit, 2.75% goes to our third party merchant service vendor Stripe. Now, if you choose to use a property manager, and again, their responsibilities are limited because we're still doing the marketing, we're doing the screening. What you, as a host, if you choose to self manage, or your property manager would be responsible for, is the physical maintenance of the property. So, mowing the lawn, managing repairs, and of course, working with our partner Evict Them For Me if you have any evictions. And on average, it costs around 8% to 10%, depending on the size of your portfolio.
So it's similar to a traditional property manager that's doing regular long-term rentals.
Yes, similar.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Okay.
I can tell you most of our newer hosts, depending on how passive you want to be, choose to self-manage for their first or second property. And then by the time they get to the third property, we'll hand it off. But our more experienced large portfolio investors already have a property manager in place usually.
Okay. And we haven't talked about it, and maybe there's a reason why, but obviously in the short-term rental space, we have cleaning that has to happen constantly, right? And so in this environment, are we relying upon the PadSplit member to make sure that their rooms are clean, or do we have cleaners that come in and do that?
Both, actually. All of the members have to abide by cleanliness rules. Keep in mind, being a technology company, all of our members communicate with us and to us through the PadSplit mobile app, and they have to check off a literally checklist of cleaning responsibilities and tasks that comes directly to us. So we track all of that information and make sure that chores are being completed. And then most of our hosts have a cleaner that comes into the common areas once a month, just to make sure that the property is in good condition, maybe take some photos. So it's a combination.
All right. One other thing we haven't really touched on too, because again, most of us that live in the short-term rental world are used to staging a property, kind of being very particular to make sure there's quality items. You kind of spend a little bit more than you need to in the beginning to make sure you can maximize your revenue. In this case, we're less concerned really about decor and differentiating us from other listings. It's more about kind of having comfortable accommodations. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. And we'll take a look at what some of the current listings look like on our platform, just so you can have an idea for comparison.
All right. Well, let's switch over now. Let's see. Okay.
Awesome. Okay. So a couple things to point out. If you go to this PadSplit.com and select the For Host section, okay, that's going to ask you to register to become a host, which I recommend doing. It's going to unlock additional features and resources for you, right? But if you want to look at current properties, you would go to the Find a Room section, okay? And you can filter based on price, based on other features. But here's an example of what a PadSplit listing would look like. Now, this is one of my hosts who actually came over from Airbnb. So I'd say this is more on the luxury side for PadSplit properties. So you'll have all of your photos listed here on the top, very similar to like an Airbnb listing. Again, this property was already furnished, So there really wasn't a lot that she had to do in order to convert it to a pad split, just meet some of our operational requirements. But you'll have your photos at the top and then a brief description of the property. So this is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. You'll also have available to list the number of parking spaces, your move-in calendar, and then members can apply directly for your room here. So you'll notice, the room number, the room size, some of the features. This one's going for $315 a week, and then a move-in fee of $100. And again, that's set directly by you and goes to you. That move-in fee goes directly to you. And you absolutely set your own rates. We'll consult you through that process again, but that's totally up to you. We just provide guidance for your go-to-market strategy.
And are we providing just the initial sheets and towels and stuff, or is it just a stripped down bed when people move in?
It's just a mattress cover when people move in. So you're not responsible for providing any linens at all.
Pillows as well, or
no pillows.
Just a mattress covered mattress, basically.
Yeah. So let me show you what kind of a standard pad split property looks like. Let me try and pull up a bedroom here for you all. Most of the homes are renovated though. But for example, this is what a standard room looks like. Only thing that's required, 80 square feet, 2 modes of egress, a bed frame, a mattress cover, lighting, a nightstand, and some form of art on the wall. If there isn't a closet that is already there, then an armoire or dresser would suffice.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's exactly what a standard, I would say most of our inventory would fall under this category. We're just now starting to get kind of the influx of interest from more luxury short-term rental hosts that are providing a different type of quality of home on our platform.
All right. And while we're looking at the apply now button, so when they apply, are you, besides the income verification, are you also looking at the credit score at all, or no?
We do look at the credit score. There are minimum qualifications around that. Like if you don't have any credit at all, you can still stay in a pad split home, which is great. And again, one of our partners and the resources that we offer for our members is credit boost services through our partner Isuzu. So all of those weekly payments are reported to the credit bureaus. And I want to say the number is around 80% of our members have either established credit or increased their credit score by staying in a pad split home after their stay.
Got it. And then I know you touched on earlier when we were talking about affordable housing, but just so that we're clear as well, if I'm Section 8, do you have Section 8 people that can apply for housing here or no?
We do not, actually. A good way to think about pad split, we are the privatization of subsidized housing.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Got it. Makes sense.
All right. So just wanted to make sure that you guys knew how to access the for host section, finding a room, looking at listings, and then point out here, once you create an account, you'll have your login credentials. And once you log in, you'll have access to the PadSplit dashboard. So I'll go to that quickly. I know we're running a little bit out of time, but I'm going to make sure that I show you all some of the tools and resources that we provide our hosts. So once you go to your dashboard, you select the resources page that's in the blue toolbar at the top. And you'll notice that there are 4 stages or kind of 4 sections here on your pad split journey. If you go to find an acquire, you can select explore tools, and you can do this on any of those stages. But this is where you would go to sign your letter of intent. So if you're interested and have a property ready to move forward or ready to look for a property to acquire for a PadSplit, you can sign a letter of intent, which again is a non-contractual, non-binding agreement, but allows us to introduce you to those partners, to the real estate agents, general contractors, property managers, all of the resources that you need. We also have here the PadSplit Marketplace, which I like to point out. So maybe you're really interested, but not necessarily, wanting to go through a renovation project. We have turnkey PadSplit properties available here for purchase. And you can access all of the financials here. You can reach out to the host directly to get information and close the deal. So all that information lives on the dashboard.
So that immediately prompts a question from me. So, I because I live and breathe in the short-term rental space, right? So we do rental arbitrage, master leases, and then we do short-term rentals with it. Is that something that PadSplit allows? If I had a master lease property, to be able to do PadSplit with it?
We do. We just recommend that you're working with the owner of the property, that they're not blindsided. So as long
Of course,
yeah.
Right.
So
So all of the master leases that we do, there's actually an addendum that we attach to it that the owner is agreeing that we're doing short-term rentals. They're allowing us to put electronic locks. We have a whole list of stuff that they have to acknowledge. And so it's not like we're trying to do something without them knowing. So yeah, that would be definitely a part of it. So as long as that's done, you guys are good with it being a lease structure as well.
absolutely.
Okay, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know.
Yeah, great question. Glad you asked that. And I get that question quite a bit. So yeah, we certainly allow that on our platform. The other thing that I'll point out here is the market data insights tool. So Rich, earlier you sent me a few addresses and wanted to kind of understand whether or not it would be a good fit. And this is the process that I would walk through with any host that has any interest. So the first thing that we do is go through the property site selection process. And what we are looking for in our buy box, at a minimum, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Typically with a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, 1,100 square feet, we can find 2 other rooms to convert. We recommend 5 rooms at a minimum, and a good way to think about that is the first bedroom covers your PadSplit fee. The second, third, and fourth bedrooms cover any debt that you have on the property. And at your 5th bedroom, that's where you're really starting to see those significant increases in income. Again, the average is 7, but we recommend a minimum of 5. So once you provide the property address, I'll take a look at the photos, see what underutilized space in that floor plan we can convert to additional bedrooms. And if the floor plan works, the next thing that I look at is just the location of the property. So as you can see here, you're looking at the Atlanta map. We're really in more of the urban areas, but in the entire Atlanta metro, which is why the property needs to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. So if the property itself checks those boxes, we're looking at location, we're looking at proximity to the workforce. So usually going to Google Maps and using a restaurant layer is a good indicator of occupancy. Seeing if that property is located to a Walmart, a Target, an Amazon fulfillment center, some of those companies that I showed you all earlier. We also look at proximity to public transportation. Only about 50% of our members actually own vehicles. So those properties that have access to public transportation typically perform really well. The other thing that we look at, if we have car riders, does the property have adequate on-site parking or street parking? All right, that's another thing that we're looking at. So once it kind of meets our buy box, then the next thing to do is to look at PadSplit data using this market insights tool.
Right. So the one I sent you, one of the ones I sent you was kind of out in Sugar Hill, just out of curiosity. And I was looking at it as, potentially converting it into 4 rooms instead of 2. It's right now set up as 2 large studios. And the feedback you gave me back was that you would recommend increasing it to 5. And so what was the logic behind that?
Again, we just recommend 5 because that
Okay.
first bedroom goes to, the PadSplit fee. Usually the second, third, and fourth covers the debt, and at 5 bedrooms is where you start seeing increases.
Got it.
Or, if it's a more high-end luxury property, then you can have 4 bedrooms and charge more and still have similar returns.
Okay. And then, so I guess on the map here in Sugar Hill, you're still going to
Yeah.
have an audience out there as well?
So, yeah, you can look here. Sugar Hill is right on the edge of where we have, significant amount of inventory. So we actually do not have any properties at all in the Sugar Hill zip code that you provided. However, we have a neighboring zip code here, the 30519. And if you click on any of these zip code boundaries, you'll see the PadSplit inventory. So we have 5 units here. Average weekly rental price is $187, 100% occupancy, and no upcoming properties. So this is typically a good indicator of how the property will perform. Again, not a ton of inventory because it's a bit further out than most of the PadSplit properties, but
so let's talk about the one in Norcross. So I had an investor that has a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. And so Norcross obviously is a little bit closer into the city limits. And so let's take a look at those numbers.
Perfect. So the zip code for that particular property is 30093. So plugged it in here, and we have 24 active rooms in that zip code. Average weekly price is $191, which I would say is higher than average. In the Atlanta metro area, the average is around $160, $170. And then we're at 97% occupancy.
And so if we did the 4-bedroom, converted it into 6 rooms, then we're potentially looking at income of 6 times 191 per week. Is that correct?
Correct. Well, there's some other things to take into consideration. So, doing this level of research on the front end is just an indicator. It's a framework. And keep in mind, even in the same property, you can have a range of pricing. Say, for example, you have a large room, private entrance, workspace, ensuite, and a walk-in closet. That's obviously going to demand higher rents than a converted formal dining room that's smaller and doesn't have those features, right? So just keep in mind that the average weekly room price that you see here is aggregated data on all of the rooms in that zip. Okay.
Just for comparison, let's do the 30312 zip code, which is kind of closer into mid Atlanta.
30312. I'm not pulling.
Or maybe a neighboring zip code that you've got inventory in.
Yeah, let's see. Hold on, I think my map is just being a little finicky here. Hold on just a minute. Okay, 30315, 104 active rooms. Average weekly room rate is 182, 96% occupancy rates, and 16 properties coming online soon.
Okay. So even if we're in city limits or outside in the suburbs, the weekly rate is not going to change too drastically, it doesn't seem.
No, I mean, I would say there's certainly a range. Like some of the locations, maybe South Atlanta, may be more affordable than what you'd get, in other places. Like, let's see, what's our most southern tip here? 30238 coming in at 155.
Okay. All right. We have one last question here from Debbie. I don't see many listings in Northeast Atlanta. I live in Lawrenceville. Does the PadSplit concept work better in the city or near airports, or would it work in suburbs? So we kind of touched on some of that, but I guess not many in Northeast Atlanta. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I would say a good way to think about, inventory and even acquiring properties is the purchase price. And we all know you make your deal on the acquisition side, right? So typically for the Atlanta market, you're looking at purchasing, I would say 300,000 or below.
And
Okay.
that's right. And so I guess it's a similar analysis for the other markets that you guys are in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then the last thing I'll point out, if I may, do we still have a little time?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I wanted to point. I just wanted to go to the earnings calculator, and I'll just plug in that zip code that you just gave me. So this is really where the magic happens with underwriting the deal. And of course, I'll walk you through this, or you certainly have access to it. You can toggle through and change this data as well. But once you plug in your zip code information, you would plug in the original bedroom count, how many additional bedrooms you're willing to add, and then what your market rent or Airbnb rent would be. Right. This allows us to really just do a side by side comparison to determine whether or not this property would be a good fit as a pad split or better suited for something else, right? Keep in mind, we don't make money unless our hosts make money. So it's very important that we advise you all to make the right decision when purchasing a property. So you'll see here right below those data input fields, it automatically generates and populates your net operating income and your unlevered return on cost. But what does that mean? If you select the advanced customization tool, this shows you exactly how that information and data is being aggregated. So we're looking at this property, right? The fake property that we're using for this example as a traditional single family home, and making some assumptions. 8% vacancy, 3% concessions. Obviously, in a traditional rental, utilities are paid by the tenant. We're assuming that you're going to make some level of renovation when you purchase the property or turn it over. And you can change all of these data fields: property management, taxes and insurance, all included. And when you get to the PadSplit section here, this is where you want to go in and really manipulate some of this data to determine whether or not it would be a good fit. So let's say, for example, we do a really nice renovation, have a nice property, and our average weekly room price is $200 a week. Vacancy defaults to 11%, but it's closer to 5%. Concessions, what concessions look like in a pad split property, maybe you're giving someone a discount in one of the rooms to mow the lawn. It doesn't happen often, but you can certainly do that. We're estimating 405 in utilities based on the room count, CapEx, contract services such as cleaning is in here as well, taxes and insurance, and then that 8% estimation if you decide to use a property manager. Let's just say in this example, you choose to self-manage, and then of course the pad split conversion renovation dollars. Okay. So we'll go ahead and apply those changes. And now we see that that net operating income has adjusted, as well as your unlevered return on cost. And then the next thing that you want to do here is select the earnings breakdown. Okay. And this will show you that side-by-side comparison. So if we were renting this property out as a traditional single family rental, $2,500 a month, our gross income is $2,231. As a pad split, 6 bedrooms, $200 a week. That gross income is $4,890. Right. So already a significant difference. However, your costs are going to be a little bit more, right? You're now paying for utilities. Your CapEx is going to be a little bit higher. Contract services, taxes, and insurance stay the same. You don't have to worry about turn costs, though, because that's paid by the member when they move in. You're choosing to self-manage, and then, of course, PadSplit has its fee for doing all the wonderful work that we do, and then that transaction fee of the 2.75. So your expenses are going to be a little bit higher. However, if we look at your net operating income side by side, right, renting that home out as a traditional rental for $2,500 versus 6-bedroom pad split at $200 a week, you're doubling your income here.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the earnings calculator. Again, once you create your account, you'll have access to this information. And of course, reach out to Rich with any questions that you have, and he'll send them over to me and be more than happy to help.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking the time, Shani. Really was very informative. If anyone's interested, like we talked about, I have a link in the comments section below where you can get some more details and connect with Shani or someone from her team and kind of walk through a particular property. I already have a couple properties I'm looking at as far as options go. And then, like we talked about in the beginning, it's always good to have options. So thanks again, everybody, for jumping on this week. And so BNB Investing Group, if anyone's interested in learning more about how we help new investors get started with a scalable business, feel free to reach out and schedule a quick strategy call with me. The best way to get me is on Facebook Messenger, and be happy to spend a little bit of time and see if you have some solutions that we can help you with. So Shani, I'd love to have you come back again at a later date. This has been very great. And hopefully we'll have some more of our properties convert over to PadSplit as well.
Awesome. I love being here and would love to have you as a host, Rich. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Take care. Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks, everybody.